G'day guys, Kane here at Oz Bushcraft. So in the last video I'd had the knife in the vise. It's been sitting for 3 days. The epoxy is well and truly set. It's hard as a rock and everything is good to go for the next stage, which is to get the shape of the handle that I'm looking to do. So as you can see here, this little mark here is where the end of the tang is, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it hidden, and so I'm going to draw a little design for the handle, what I'd like it to look like. It's not going to be so bad. I mean, the handle's going to be a little bit longer than what I'd normally do on a what I'd normally have on a handle. However, it's still going to look alright. I think once it's actually done, it will actually look quite nice. So, well, I'm hoping it looks quite nice, otherwise I'd be pretty upset with myself. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just level it off first, just because it's all over the place at the moment. You can see that there's just bits hanging out everywhere, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it on the sander and level it out. And then what I'm going to do is, well, hopefully when I do that leveling out, I'll take off as little as possible so that I've got more to play with when I go to actually draw the design of the handle on it. So I'll do that first. I'll go and level it up, and yeah, I'll show you in a second. Right, so I've cleaned it up a little bit just to flatten it out, and I mean, it's not perfect, but I wasn't expecting it to be. At least now I've got a better edge to work with when it comes to doing the design on the actual knife. So that's the next step of what I'm doing now. I'm going to draw the pattern out on the actual knife. Then I'm going to cut the extra off the back here, and then it'll be time to get the jigsaw out and start shaping the grooves in the actual how I want to hold it. I mean, still at a loss as to how it's supposed to look, but it's a learning curve. This, like I've said in the previous videos, is my very first knife, homemade or whatever you call it, the DIY. So it's all a learning curve, and it looks good so far. I reckon that it'll come out really nicely once I've gotten it down a bit. So I've just given it a little light sanding on the belt sander there, and just to get it as level as I can, so that I've got an area of where to cut it. And so the next step is to draw roughly where I'm going to cut the end of it off. Obviously I want to keep a little bit on there, because as you can see, this little line here, that's the end of the tang, so I need to make sure that I don't go over that. So I'm going to whack it in the vise now, and I'm going to cut it up probably about 5 to 7 mils over this side, so that I've got plenty of room when I go to round it up and all that sort of stuff, just to make it nicer and stuff. So yes, the next step is to get it in and to get the pattern on it, the shape of the handle that I'm going to do for the back of it, then to cut it out with the jigsaw. So I'm going to go do that now, and I'll bring back a shape. Alright, so drew it out, and I've cut it out with the jigsaw, and this is what we're at. So as you can see, the handle looks a hell of a lot better. Now that it's got some shape to it, it's gonna the next step here is to just get it on the sander and start working it as best as I can. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do this part yet. I'll figure that out as I go. But yeah, so far I'm really happy with what I've accomplished, and yeah, so I'll get it a bit further along, and yeah, I'll sand it down a little bit and I'll get back to you. Yeah, it looks like I'm going prematurely grey. Yeah, so I've been on the sander, and this is what I've gotten it to, and this is what I'm up to. This is how it looks at the moment, and I'm pretty happy with how I've gotten it. So now all I've got to do is I'm going to do a lot of hand sanding, just to smooth it all out and get all the shapes that I want it to. So that'll take a couple of hours to do. I may not even finish it tonight. And then the next step after that is just to, once it's cleaned up, oil it. And then once I've done that, I'll start working on a sheath. Now that I've got a rough shape to work with, I've got an idea of what I'm going to do for a sheath. And yeah, so I'm very happy with how it's turned out so far. I mean, there's still, it's still not perfect, but it's my first knife. It was never going to be perfect, but I'm pretty happy with what I've gotten. So I'm going to leave this leave it as is for now. I'll do a bit of hand sanding, as I said, and I'll get back to you. Have a good one. So this is where I'm at now. Smoothed it out. On the bout sander, I'd gotten it to the shape that I'd wanted it, and then got it over here on your little vise that's just out of view here. And I started off with some really coarse sandpaper, basically what the painters use, and I've worked myself down to some really fine polishing paper, and so all I'm doing at the moment is just trying to polish out all of the scratches in the wood itself, and there's some scratches in the piece of brass at the end there, but apart from that, it's done. All it needs is a bit of a polish. You can tell that it's not perfect, and frankly, I like the fact that it's not perfect. It means that it's unique, and it's definitely a one of a kind, and I'm very happy with how it's turned out. I must say I wasn't expecting it to come out as good as it did, and I'm pretty happy with myself for getting that far. And so yeah, there you go. The next time you see this knife, it'll be all oiled up, and yeah, then I'll be working on the sheath for it. So there you go, guys. If anyone's actually interested in doing a DIY knife kit, I'd say do it. It's a really rewarding experience being able to look at something that you've created yourself and think that, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to be able to do that. So I've spent a couple of hours sanding this and polishing it and stuff like that, and yeah, so I'll probably spend even more time doing it, because like you can see just little fine scratches in it and stuff like that from the sandpapers and stuff, and most people probably wouldn't worry about them, but me, I want, before I put the stain on it, I really want to polish out all the scratches that are in the actual piece of wood, and yeah, I'll get that all nice. So you can see there, it's not perfect or anything, but what I've done is I've made it so that it actually follows the antler more than anything else. So yeah, not perfect, but it's got a good feel to it. It really does feel very comfortable in my hand, and yeah, we'll see how it looks when it's all polished up and stuff. But there you go. So I'm leaving this on for the time being. I'll leave that on there until I've done the stencil for the sheath, so I can use, so I don't cause any damage to that while I'm making the sheath at all. And yeah, because the sheath will have to be what do you call it, wet moulded or whatever it is. So I want to make sure that I keep the blade protected, being a carbon steel blade. Don't want it to get water on it or anything like that. But yeah, there you go, guys. If anyone's interested in actually purchasing the kits, you can find them on the BushcraftOz website, www.bushcraftoz.com.au, I think it is. Actually, sorry, there's a BushcraftOz shop and a BushcraftOz website. I keep getting them confused, and yeah, so I obviously probably gave you the wrong web address there. Sorry. Alright, so there you go, guys. Yeah, so the next set of videos will be the making of the sheath. So that's pretty much knife finished. Next step, making the sheath. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the videos, and yeah, if you're interested in them, I'd urge you to do one, because yeah, it's a pretty good feeling to be able to do something like that. Alright, have a good one, guys. See ya.